What's supposed to happen is you push
when
it
you click
once,
break, once you click break, it's supposed to start counting down, and then you click it again, and it goes available.
and it stops.
Right, so.
And then,
But problem is I had more than one screen open.
yeah,
So I got a little frustrated and went to a different one, and then
maybe.
it said, you don't have any time left.
So, what's your question exactly?
I needed to go on break, like, need a potty break now, and then I was like,
Something happens and then suddenly you realize that it's not working, and so you don't know what to do.
right, and then do I tell the shift manager? Well, she doesn't really know, because we're all still learning, and so I think I found it somehow. I went to the phone box like we used to and put, I can't find break on there. I don't know what I did.
Just refresh the page. It works for me.
Refresh the page, just a little round,
Yeah.
It always works.
Or hit F5.
F5.
Oh, really?
Okay. Because
Or
that happened
right click
twice,
and refresh.
so I, obviously wasn't figuring it out.
Okay. Have you had that problem recently?
Yeah,
Yesterday.
In fact,
So,
I ran in and asked her, and she.
How much time did you have when you hit
I
break?
had about 11 minutes, somewhere between 8 and 11 minutes.
So you click break, and then it did what? Or did you think it just didn't do anything?
Yeah, it didn't do anything, so I clicked it again. Maybe there's just a little bit of a delay.
There's about a second delay.
Usually works good, but.
Yeah, normally it does, actually, but yesterday it didn't.
So when you clicked it, it just didn't do anything?
Let me ask Pat a question.
Okay.
You say you click the break button
You
or
click
the
it
break
where-
accruing button?
Well, right where you got the numbers, it tells you how much time is available. At the moment, it says available because you are.
Right.
And then you click that,
Right.
and it just sat there. It didn't do anything. So I probably went to another page.
Usually when I do that,
Usually it works fine.
I notice that on my in contact with the agent
So you're
is,
in break?
that it actually
That it
puts me
switched
in break.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's usually the case. It could have been just a little bit of a delay, because sometimes the pages don't look quite as fast.
Okay, so we have question about break. What else do we have questions on?
How come it looks like we're not working when we really are working? We're taking calls.
On the schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the same question.
Yeah.
She has that question. So we'll go over that.
Also today, when I took my break, it said I had 18 minutes of time I could take, so I tried to take a 15-minute break. And I looked at it, it was 10 minutes. I thought, maybe I'll go back on it. No, I'll wait for 15. And then all of a sudden, I looked over and it had me back available again. I didn't touch anything. So after 10 minutes, is it automatically put you back
No,
available?
it's supposed to put you unavailable.
Yeah, it did put me unavailable.
Okay, so unavailable. So you can't, a 15-minute break isn't a choice.
No, it is a choice. 15 minutes is the longest that you have at one time.
Okay, but it only took 10 and then it put me unavailable.
And you didn't click available? And nobody came to your computer and clicked available?
Well, I was, no, I was here all by myself.
Maybe it was the elf.
Okay. Okay. Any other concerns?
Is there ever going to be a time when we can put ourselves on the lunch instead of relying on the shift manager when they forget to put you purple?
We'll talk about that.
So if you don't take your breaks, sometimes like Saturday when it was so busy there was just no time. At the end of the day, if it says that you have 40 minutes worth of break left, that means there's no way that you could be out of compliance or out of adherence unless you just played for an hour somewhere, right?
I'm not going to say there's no way, but it's possible that you could have a crappy adherence and have a lot of break time left. And I'll explain that.
Okay.
So, any other questions?
When I put somebody on break, because I need to get them off the phones to train them right then,
Break or training?
training,
Okay.
does it tell me anywhere that they're on training?
No.
Yesterday I had an agent that was just way out of adherence,
Yeah.
or out of compliance and stuff, and so it's like, get off the phone right now, and I put her on training, and I couldn't see where I had done that, or where
Okay.
she was excused.
The grid shows you that. You're in contact shows you that.
Okay.
But on our
Do you ever
side,
log into in contact?
I do on occasion when I'm taking calls, otherwise I just listen through the grid.
Well, that's what I mean, the grid. The grid
Yeah.
shows you that.
So if she does that. if we
And
put
maybe
it-
I should get with you after.
Sometimes when I just have the grid up, sometimes I just poke their name, I don't actually go through and contact and drop it down and just listen to them that way. You know how that big round thing comes up?
Yeah,
You can
let
listen to
me
them?
get with you after. I
Okay.
have a suggestion on
Okay,
probably some ways that you can better utilize your time.
So
okay.
does she have to put us in training or do we put
She
ourselves
does. And she can push you unavailable afterward. Okay.
Okay.
So I figured that all those questions were questions that you would have. So right now you can see that I don't have a schedule, so I don't show how much break I have. It just says break is occurring because I don't have a schedule.
Right.
So let's talk about firstly how the paid break works. When you very first come in and you start working, you have a shift, right? Let's say this is your schedule, you got the shift. And let's say that during this time is your lunch. So here's your start time and here's your end time. So this is your schedule, and you come in, and let's do 3 different scenarios. One, you start working a little bit late, okay? You work for a little bit, you work for another little bit, you work for another little bit, okay? So this time, right here, is absent time, right? Now, absent time is that you are not logged into into your agent. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So if you're logged into your agent and you're sitting unavailable or whatever, and you walk away from your computer for an hour, that's not absent time, that's unavailable time. Does that make sense? So absent time is time you are supposed to be logged in based on what your schedule says compared to whether you are actually signed into a contact. Okay? In contact is sitting here executing, you're unavailable, you're available, you're on your call, all this stuff. And those states, each of those states has to come into our system. So it takes about 5 to 10 minutes for those states to come into our system. So you'll notice that when you're on the schedule and you get on the call for 18 minutes and you look at your schedule, there's a blank spot in the time. That's because that data hasn't come in yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you explained that really well, like on the video too.
Yeah. So when the data comes in, so if you come in and you log in late, it takes a little bit of time for this data to come in and tell us that you had absent time. Does that make sense? So what's going to happen is you're going to start out your shift for like 5 minutes and you might show a positive number in your break. Does that make sense? And then it says that you were absent, and because you were absent, then per minute that you're absent, then it subtracts from your paid break. Does that make sense? So if you are 5 minutes, let's say that this is 5 minutes. If you're absent 5 minutes, then you start out up here in your box as negative 5 minutes, right? And you can't go into break until you have at least positive 1 minute. Does that make sense? So if you come in 5 minutes late, you have to work for the next hour in order to get this to 0. And then it's 0. So what that means is basically, since you were absent, we're going per minute, we're going to take that from what we are going to say is a paid break. Okay? Now, the difference between paid break and scheduled adherence is that this is 5 minutes off of your paid break, but it's 5 minutes out of the 6 minutes that you're allotted for that hour of absent time. Does that make sense? So you still have 1 minute of absent time.
You mean,
Or
Paid
1
break
minute
time.
of time that is not going to hurt your schedule adherence.
gotcha.
So Aaron, if you have to go to the bathroom, you
Yeah.
can only be on 2 minutes. Do you go unavailable or you go break?
So you're saying you come in,
I
you're
came in,
5
I was
minutes
on
late.
time, I know, I was on time,
Okay, so you're on time.
and then an hour and a half into, I don't wanna take my break yet, but I have to go back.
Then you can go unavailable.
Is it unavailable then not break?
Mhm.
But why would you go down the middle
Yeah.
when you can
Why would you do that?
Because I wanna take my break for another hour.
Because she
Then
may want to
how do
take
you,
break.
so how do you do that? You
So-
go into the little phone box.
Yeah. So, hold on, let me keep explaining some conditions. So there's this case, right? Then there's the case where you sign on before time or right on time, right? Which means that you have 0 absent time, and so your rate just starts accruing, right? However, you might log out of your agent for whatever reason, right? For 5 minutes. And so this 5 minutes that you're logged out of your agent subtracts from your paid break. Now, why would you ever log out of your agent?
If you had a problem, if you had a.
Do you change computers? And if there's a change of computer, there's nothing we can do. We can't push you into tech support because you're logged out of your agent, and that's what we have to do, right? We can't go into our system and say, well, this person was really here because we haven't built that yet. Does that make sense? So for right now, then that's just 5 minutes that you're without that time. Does that make sense? Now, you might log out because you're switching computers. You might log out because you're just decided I'm going to log out, right? For whatever reason. You might log out because in contact goes down. Does that make sense? There's nothing we can do about that.
The X-Lite used to go down on me and just go all weird
The X-Lite or in
a
contact?
couple of times a week. Yeah, so I don't use the X-Lite anymore, but that's another reason I don't.
Okay,
use it.
X-Lite,
It's a lot better.
X-Lite is different. Now,
Yeah.
if X-Lite goes down, you're still logged in.
Oh.
But if X-Lite, if you need to reset something and log out of your session and log
Usually
back
the
in,
tech would tell me,
Yeah.
go ahead and log
That's
out
right.
everywhere and
Right.
come back in.
How long is it gonna be before that's gonna be in effect?
I don't know. What we're doing is we're programming the agent into POP. So your agent that you have within contact, we're going to program that and put it into POP as a module of POP.
So
Nice.
basically,
So when that happens, then in contact could go down, or you could reset your computer and still be sitting available, or in some tech support that's in our system that's not in their system, where we can account for that.
so
Okay?
if you have to change computers or log out of your computer, turn it off, turn it on, go grab your coffee, come back, log back in. Now you're ready.
Take a break.
Well, that's one, yeah.
Yeah.
That happened to me the other day. I was
So,
logged in and I logged in and the computer wouldn't, or the NT wouldn't connect with the X-Lite. There was something wrong with it. So I had to reset. So it was 15 minutes that it took me to,
Yeah.
get this process finally done.
So, this is a problem, right? And what we're doing is, we used to not do anything, right? We used to just not pay any time. We used to, that's just what you did. You logged out and you logged in and whatever, right? But it's not like you're supposed to be logging out and logging in every single day and every single hour,
Well,
right? No, that's not typical behavior. So there's a best practice to fix this, and what is that? What do you think is the best practice?
Fix it before your shift.
Before your shift,
Yeah.
right? So if you show up here, shut the computer down, shut the computer completely down, boot it up, make sure that the X-Lite is working, make sure that your connection is working to the internet, and everything is working just fine, right? And make a phone call to your cell phone, make sure that that connection is established and keep it established for the rest of your shift. And that best practice will eliminate the need to do this most of the time. If the internet flickers, then obviously that can present some problems. If the power goes off, that presents a problem, right? So there's a few things that still present a problem. But for the most part, that best practice will fix that condition. Does that make sense? So that's something that Designer can call in to do. It's in your can column to show up on time so you can fix this issue, right? Okay, now the next issue is at the end of your shift, right? Where you log out 5 minutes early. What does that do?
Does that subtract from your break?
Subtraction paid break, but that doesn't matter because
Well, they say
you
not
can't
to
use it at the end anyway, right?
Not supposed
So
to.
that doesn't matter. However, it still hurts your adherence 5 minutes, right? Or 10 or whatever it is. So to fix that so it doesn't hurt your adherence, best practice is to work through the end of your shift, right? Okay. So this is how the paid break works. Once you are logged in, okay, let me put black as unavailable. So purple is absent, black is just unavailable, whatever the unavailable is, right? It could be paid break mode, it could be tech support, it could be, well, not tech support. It could be lunch, it could be the callback mode, whatever it is, right? So black is unavailable. Paid break accrues for all of the time that you were logged in, and then when you get into your lunch time, it pauses. So you probably have noticed that. And once you are in, like if you refresh right before or once you got into your lunch, you can go and do this on your next shift, and then sit there for 5-10 minutes and refresh again. You'll see that your paid break hasn't changed anything. So it pauses during this time, and it doesn't matter what happens during this time, whether you're on a phone call, whether you're working, whether you're unavailable. Once you get outside of the time, then it starts counting up again. Does that make sense?
About that, what's the best way to, like, if you are on a call and you go like 10 minutes into your lunch,
Uh-huh.
what is the best way to approach getting that fixed so it's...
Don't worry about it.
No,
Really?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh.
just take the 30 minutes or the hour.
That's what Marion told us.
I see.
And you don't have to,
So,
at first we all thought.
Before we
had
get
to-
in, next, I just want to focus on paid break for right now and get all the questions answered. Okay. So you've got your lunch break. So right when your lunch break starts, your paid break stops counting. It doesn't matter what number it is. It stops, and then at the end of the time on the schedule, which is in 15-minute chunks, then it starts up again, right? So that doesn't mean that you can't use your paid break during this time. You can still use at least 15 minutes or whatever. You can still do that. That's not a problem. It's just that it doesn't accrue during your lunch.
So you
Okay?
can use your break to pay for your lunch.
Sure.
So could you say again how you do that?
You just hit break on pause.
But if you only
During
have
that.
15 minutes of break,
So
and
let's
you're gonna take
say,
an hour lunch.
yeah, well,
Same pay.
so let's say that you've got 15 minutes, right? So you got 15 minutes of break. And you get to your lunch break and like, you know what, I want to get paid 15 minutes of this. You can push that, it'll count down 15 minutes, and then it'll push you into unavailable until you get back and push yourself available. So if you don't want to break any of this time, but you want to get paid for 15 minutes of your lunch break, you can do that. Does that make sense?
So,
So then how do you do the other 45? You have the shift manager put you on.
No. You don't get paid for the other 45.
so you just,
Right.
it just goes on
So you just
It just pushes you unavailable. Now, I don't recommend that you do that. I recommend that you use your paid break during this time, which is what it's mainly designated for, so that you can get up, stretch, run around the building, whatever you need to do, and know that you're still on the clock and that it's working. And you know, that's the intention of it. You can use it how you want, but that's the intention of it. So if you'll use your paid break here and here, or whatever it is, and then it will pause, and then right here you use it again, right, as much as you can. The last little bit doesn't matter, right?
If you don't want to run around, you can always grab a coffee.
Yeah.
So,
There's an MC.
so, I do like to do that. I'd rather save all that time and take my lunch separately And what I've been doing is go to, I have a shift manager turn me purple, and then when I'm actually going, I click on the regular box like I used to, lunch. That's the correct way?
Yeah. Yeah, so when you go to lunch, go into lunch mode. The main reason to go into lunch mode is to communicate to the shift managers that you're on lunch, right? Because they're looking at this, and they're looking at all the agents, and they want to see that James Wall is on lunch, right?
Oh.
Right there. And it tells them how long they've been on lunch, and lets them know when they're expected back, and let your MC know you're on lunch when your MC's looking at this.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Because I usually only take a 30-minute lunch. One day I needed 45 minutes, so I allowed my break to accrue, and I was going to be gone from my computer, so I asked DSM, can you put me in break after the end of my 30 minutes? I'll probably be back at the 40-minute mark, but just in case, can you do that for me? And I think they did it, but I don't know.
They can't. They can't push you into
They
break.
can't put me into break.
There's only
So-
one way for you to go into break, and that's
For me to
yourself.
do it
pushing.
myself? Okay.
Or
So
me,
that-
or
that
me
extra
getting
10
in and
minutes
doing it
that I
on
was
back.
gone, did it count as, how did it work against me?
Okay, well, just a
I ended
minute.
up being gone 40
Okay,
minutes.
I'll answer that just a minute. You had a question?
Yeah, from Rachel and from Laurie. They work mixed shifts where it's like on for 2 hours, off for an hour, on for 2 hours, or on for 2 hours, off for 2 hours, on for 4 hours. So because they
Does
have
that have
that
a break
time
in
in
the
between,
shift,
doesn't
then
sure,
no.
right? Okay.
So what happens is right here at the end of your shift, doesn't matter what the time is, after your shift is over, it's zeroed out.
Okay.
Even if there's a 15-minute gap and
Okay.
you go, right?
Does that rule still apply if you're on a 2-hour shift? You cannot use any of that paid break time. Well, you wouldn't really do much, but you can accrue it within the last 30 minutes of the shift.
You can't use it in the last 30 minutes. Because the point of a break is that you take a break
Right, while you're working.
while you're working.
Refresh.
Is there any way we can be scheduled a 9-hour shift so it won't take an hour lunch to
Yes.
get our 8 hours?
Yeah,
Question.
and I'll talk about that at the end.
If you get a call, right, 10 minutes before you log off for the day, and it goes way past your time, you get paid for that? Or
You get paid, but once you get to the end of your schedule, then it doesn't, your adherence and all that, and the break and all that doesn't matter, but you're still paid for being on the phone.
You can go unavailable as much as you want.
So, alright, so you guys are kinda getting a little further, but, so, does everybody understand the paid break and how it works?
If you don't take
Okay.
it, you just lose it.
And it's not that you just lose it, if you don't take it and you're just sitting there working this whole time and you don't take it, you're still paid for that time, right?
Right.
But you have the 5 minutes
Yeah.
every
And
hour
so you're
that
not gonna
accrues
apply
that
it
you
for my
can
lunch
go
because I
unavailable.
didn't take my break.
So, that's paid break. Now, paid break is off task. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, you're given 6 minutes every hour. You're given 6 minutes for your schedule adherence, right? And you have 5 minutes for paid break. So 5 of those 6 minutes you can be paid for if you take it that way. So what does this mean? Earlier she said as long as you're in the green, as long as you have paid break time, does that mean you'll have 100% adherence? The answer is yes, if the only way that you went unavailable was for your lunch break here, right? For the same time, and that all of the other unavailable right here was through your paid break.
Even though you
And
didn't
that
push the button.
No, that you push the button. Okay? If you go into the agent and you tell that agent to go unavailable, that starts counting down to 6 minutes, but it doesn't count down your 5 minutes. Does that make sense? So if you take 5 minutes of schedule adherence for 1 hour, or on some unavailable or whatever it is, callback mode, extra wrap, whatever it is, then that is not paid time. It's not a paid break time. And if you go and use your 5 minutes of paid break, you're going to have a schedule adherence below a 10. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Annette?
I guess I'm confused. But I don't ever do the 6 minutes. Let's say I did, come 6 minutes late, and I took a 5-minute break, I'm gonna be out of here.
Okay?
Is that right?
If you take it by going just like regular unavailable or some unavailable mode that's not break,
Okay. Oh, okay,
Extra.
I see.
extra app or whatever.
Does that accrue every hour, or by the end of the day if I've gone past?
Well,
the-
it's for your shift. So if this is 6 hours with 30 minutes here, then it's 5.5 hours of time, right?
Mhm.
So the first 2 hours might be perfect, then you take 10 minutes, and so on and so forth. Make sure that the total time here is less than 27.5 minutes.
So it's not accrued by the hour, it's by the shift.
No, it's by the minute that you work.
Well, what I'm saying is the 6 minutes is actually like not based on if you miss it more than 6 minutes in the hour.
Oh, no, it's
At
the whole
end of the
shift, yeah.
shift.
So in an 8-hour shift, I can actually miss 48 minutes of routine.
You can be unavailable for 48 minutes or off task for 48
Without
minutes
getting in trouble.
without hurting your schedule adherence. I put your schedule adherence right at the 90% mark.
Well, technically it would be 42 if you have a 1 hour lunch. Just 'cause you don't
Oh,
have
yeah,
to-
because of the lunch.
But if you
But yeah,
didn't take the lunch, then.
yeah, so if it was, whatever your net hours are on your shift. Okay, so here's the schedule. Let me pull up a net.
She's not a good example, she doesn't have a book
Yeah.
That's fine, like, no, I want you to look at, is
We'll
it
grab
so
it.
today?
Why isn't this working?
Is your picture me that I?
You could look at mine,
You're good too.
Tell me
You
that
can
this
go,
is-
I can look at mine
the
because I
question
believe
about mine,
mine.
and he kind of answered it.
Sarah.
No. You know I'm not.
Come on,
in there.
get one for the team. Let's explain to Sarah how she can get it to be a 10. Sorry, Sarah, but I want you to have good money.
So part of the, so what's driving me crazy is, it's not updated every second, it's every 5 minutes.
That's the
it's
part,
updated. That's
yeah.
where I'm seeing those little blanks, what looks like.
Right, it just gotta stop
And it's
looking at
making
it.
me nuts.
Yeah, because I was looking, hey, what hours were
Just press Control 0 or F5 and it will just update it.
But then if it hasn't
Oh, it's
updated, then
yellow.
it's still gonna be, if it's not. in
Right.
it, right? That's what I'm doing, is I'm making myself nuts. It's a
So
habit.
wait till your shift is
Over.
over and then look at
Don't
it.
worry about it.
Yeah.
It makes me nuts.
All of you guys that are 10s, don't even look at it. Just show up on time, take a break on time.
No,
You
it's,
don't even
it's-
have to look at it.
That's really what. it comes
Okay.
down to.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sarah, you start looking at yours.
Come on, there we go.
I mean.
All right, so here's the net. So you can see her Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday, right?
What are all those breaks?
see that, Brett, see that 12.5-minute one there? I did not take that.
Right here,
Yeah.
today?
I took a break, okay, but yes, I did take a break, and I took it for 10 minutes.
And then you
I
went
looked
unavailable.
and then I looked and I thought, well, maybe, and all of a sudden it changed, so I went right to work. And it says I was gone
Okay.
12.5 minutes.
You probably were.
Okay.
So here is her only time that is off task, right? You can see that she has a long stream of on task. That's like hard work right there.
Yeah.
Right?
So am I in, did I get out of adherence because of that?
No.
Okay.
No. So what we have here, you can see that if you hover over, it tells you how many minutes is in this state in that time, right? So she has 15 minutes there, 14.98 minutes there, 14.98, 15.02. There's a little bit of a rounding error, so sometimes 14.02, 14.98, right? Anyway, so she's just constantly on the phones, right? On task. This is really good adherence, like real good. So she has an 8-hour shift today from 4 to noon. And as soon as she gets excused from 11 to 12, which needs to happen, you go to do that.
Because I wake up in the middle of the night and want to check my adherence.
Then-
I do, that's awful.
Oh my gosh, she has
Then-
nightmares about her job.
Then she's got really good adherence, right? Now that's typical right there.
Or whatever.
That it's typical that if you just work right, that you'll have a good adherence at a 10. What we've done with the adherence is that we've built in that you're going to have the 5 minutes here and there that you have to reset. You're going to have the time that the system lags a little before it pushes you available, right? You're going to have just a few times that the system hiccups, but it's not always doing it, right? And so we've accounted for that in the 6 minutes. We've accounted for it in that your MC can push you into a training mode because you have to do something because you're just tanking and they can't afford to have you take another phone call, so they have to interrupt, right? Or the SM. Or you're having a technical issue that's going to take minutes to resolve, like not 1 or 2 minutes, but like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They can put you into a technical support state so that you're here, you're working, you're engaged, you're trying to solve your problem, and that you're paid for it and that you're on task for that time. Does that make sense?
Is that only in the office, or is that in your home office as well?
Well, it's judgment by the tech person. And here's the way that I'll explain that. If you have a home office, you're responsible for that home office work. Not us, not our tech person, you are. You're responsible to know how to fix it, how to get it done, and all that. If your home office is not working, then you should come into the office where it is working. Does that make sense? So that's what we've told them. So if you're at home and your internet goes out, it might come back up in 10 minutes, and it might be out for 3 hours, and you don't know.
I'll come to the office soon.
So you come to the office, right? And if you come to the office, they'll excuse you for the time that it takes to drive into the office. That's not going to hurt you, right? So, but if you're going to gamble on it and say, you know what, I'm just going to sit here and wait, because if it's 10 minutes and it takes 30 minutes to go in the office, then it's just 10 minutes. They're not going to push you into a tech state. They're not going to do any of that. And you'll be absent for 10 minutes. And so what that does is it makes it so that you have to tighten your belt during this time for the rest of your shift, right? Or beforehand. So hopefully you did it beforehand.
But the flip side of that is if it's something from the company's
But if
standpoint, like
if you're in the office and there's an issue, then that's on us. So we'll take care of that however we do. If the internet goes out, we can't push you into a tech state, right? So we're going to we're going to do what we can to make sure that we can compensate you the way that you need to be. Does that make sense? And so we'll achieve that through either fixing your time card after the fact, excusing you for that 15-minute block if it just flickered real quick, right? Whatever it is. Does that make sense?
But I'm saying, like, at home, if the site goes down, or
At
has
home,
some
if the
sort
site
of-
goes down, then since you're home and you can just go around your house till the site comes up, we probably won't do anything for you. But that's at the discretion of the tech person and what they feel is necessary, right? So if they're telling you, stay at your computer and do this and this and this, and so the company's requiring you to be there, then we should be making an adjustment for you that
Even
way.
if that takes longer than 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause that happened to me last week. We got it figured out, but it took longer than 30 minutes.
To get your home station figured out? After what?
Working with the tech.
Oh, the tech might work with you, right? But it's 30 minutes that it's on you to make sure your home station is working. So they might say to you, well, I'm willing to help you, but that doesn't mean that they're going to put you into a tech state and pay you for it and fix your adherence and all that stuff.
So how do you fix it?
7 days.
That
If
sucks.
it hurts you, then you have to wait 7 days, right? So the message is in general. So think of this in general rather than little individual items. In general, when you come and you say, I would like to work from home, you're taking on the responsibility to make sure that your home office is always working. Always.
Just so you guys know.
So if you're late because of it and so on and so forth, then that's
Alan doesn't
your
allow
problem.
his team to work from home, just so you guys know.
Doesn't matter if they have a home office or not, he does not allow his thing to work from home.
Oh,
Alan, one of the MCs. Yeah, I have a glitch in my home system, and when I very first sign on, and when I go to, what do you call it, not to, Lisa.
Okay, in contact?
Yes.
Nailed up.
Nailed up.
Nailed up.
If I,
Nobody wants to be knocked.
if I don't, if it doesn't do it right, like, if it's really slow to do that, I know that after I take about 3 calls, it's gonna freeze,
Yeah,
and I have to call the tech and have him
reset your
reset
DID.
me, and it takes time to do that.
Yeah.
So if I go to, I always go on like a half hour before I'm supposed to be on shift, and if it acts like that, I get in the car and come to work, because I don't want to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
You know.
But under that situation, if you're waiting for the tech to reset your DID to work from home, that's on you to resolve that. That could be your internet, it could be whatever
Yeah.
the reason is that
Because we know
causes
there's a
it.
problem, but we can't figure
Yeah.
out what it is.
So that's the way that we've communicated to the tech people, the SMs, and that we've told your MCs when they have that conversation with you. So hopefully they've given you that message. So if it's on us and that you're in the office and we're telling you to stay in the office, then we're going to make that adjustment. If it's on us that you're working from home, we might excuse you for like 30 minutes, right? If it goes down for 30 minutes or a contact goes down for 30 minutes so that your adherence is not hurt. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to pay you for that time. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So there's all those differences. So, with that said, back to schedule adherence and just a summary. You've got 6 minutes of every hour throughout your shift that you can be off task with before you start going below a 10 on your score. Does that make sense?
That includes extra wrap.
Extra wrap, paid break, unavailable, callback mode.
So
Is there any other
callbacks,
ones?
so if you're doing callbacks, it's gonna put you out of here,
If you're on unavailable callback, that's off task.
well, until it turns the color. Well, it's
If you're
red.
outbounding, then it's different.
Okay. Okay.
Once you're outbounding, that's on task. But if you're in the unavailable callback mode, then it's off task.
Okay, you said it includes paid break, so if you took a 10-minute paid break right after your first 2 hours, then you don't have any more, well, you've got about 2 minutes left.
You have 2 minutes of flex for you to stay above a 10 on your schedule.
So I don't have to freak out when, oh my gosh, I just spent 10 seconds in extra wrap.
No,
Okay, thank you.
no, don't freak out about that. And if you spend an extra 10 seconds here and then 30 seconds on the next call and 15 seconds on the next call, maybe that just eats into how much paid break you're going to use, right? Now what we're going to do, just like this module here, we're going to put another module up there that tells you what percent or what your current score is on your schedule here, so that you can look at it and see what your score is, right?
Yeah.
So
Does that
that,
mean by the minute or by where you are that day?
well, it'll be a little behind because we have to wait for in contact to update the information, right?
Right.
So,
Stay up on that one, just watch.
Yeah, that's like running a race and constantly looking behind you to see who's
Movies
catching up.
or HBO, she has that one.
yeah.
Don't look at it.
So, a lot of people have requested that. I thought it's real simple to just display. It'll refresh, it recalculates every hour, right? I think every hour. So, don't freak out if it's all of a sudden down to a 9, Annette. What you have to realize is it might be a 9 right here, but it might be a 9 because you just took 10 minutes, right? And maybe you were only supposed to take 8 at the time. But then if you do real good over here, by the time you get over here, it will be back to a 10. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Aaron just knows, he's gonna get all these emails, everything.
We're gonna
So-
give her a massage
Yeah.
certificate at the next meeting. So she can go.
Okay. So now let's talk about this on-task, off-task stuff, right? Because it's confusing to you guys. You're like, this isn't exactly how I did it. Annette didn't come in and go unavailable for a little bit, then get on the call, then go unavailable. Okay, each 15-minute period of the schedule, treat that as a separate part of the schedule, okay? What we do is every 15 minutes, we add up all of the time that is on task, all the time that is off task, and we display it. And it always goes in the order of on task, off task, on task, off task, on task, off task. Does that make sense?
But I really didn't even do that day.
So on this day, what she really did is she had her break start a little bit into this 15-minute block and go into this 15-minute block, and then she got on task again. But because it crossed the 15-minute time, then it takes all of the time that is on task in this 15 minutes and puts it here, and all the time that was off task in this 15 minutes and puts it there. Then it takes all the time that was on task in this 15 minutes and puts it always puts it at the front, and all the time off task and puts that at the end. Does that make sense? Just always does that. And it also always puts time that is absent time. So it goes absent, on task, off task. Absent, on task, off task. It always does that. Okay? So this does not represent how you are working through your shift. It represents, in that 15-minute interval, how much time was on task, how much time was off task. Does that make sense? Why did we do that? Well, when you're building a display for representing something on the computer, you're left to a certain pixel size. Okay? So if you go unavailable for 2 seconds and then go available and then unavailable, then available, unavailable, unavailable, or available, whatever it is, and you have different durations, you can't represent all of those like a 2-second thing and a 5-second thing and whatever. It has to be of a certain duration for it to represent. Does that make sense? So that's how we used to have it, and it was really confusing because sometimes you wouldn't see any off-task time because it was in like a 30-second spot and then a 1-minute spot, extra wrap time, right, of these people or whatever. And so you wouldn't see any off-task time, and it show on-task the whole time, but that was not true. So we decided that we would just, in total, show what it is so that you can come over, you hover over with your mouse, it says, in this 15-minute period, I was off-task for 8.72 minutes. If I add that off-task plus this off-task, 2.13, that's 10 minutes, right? So that was your break. She took a 10-minute break. It just crossed the 15-minute mark. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
I just was on done.
Okay, so what is your question?
Okay, so the question I had is, at the end of the day, you can like something, like say you were scheduled for 8 hours, and it may say that you got paid like 6.5 hours, but you didn't take a lunch, and all you did within your 5 minutes or whatever your paid break time. And then you may have like 10 minutes of the whole day of extended nap time. So I'm trying to figure out why I would only get paid for like 6
Right now, you're looking at the time tracking?
Yeah.
Right now on the time tracking, it's not showing that the break time or tech support or training is paid.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
We haven't updated that because Trevor's trying to fix something before he goes and recalculates that up to last Monday when we started this process.
What's time tracking?
Time tracking.
Oh,
So
you
it's
see
not
how much your paycheck.
totally accurate.
Oh.
Does
If you go
that
back later
answer
in
your
the
question?
day, it shows up.
Yeah. So for right now, go and take the paid plus the break plus the tech support plus the training. That's your total paid. And Monica has to go and designate the states for everybody in the paid in the payroll. And then once she does that, I have to get with Trevor, and we have to go backwards and compute that
So what is the,
through last Monday.
what is the thing on your commission page, those hours on the commission page?
Yeah,
How far behind is that?
I think that's computed every 4 hours or something, but I don't know. I need to change the reference to that so that it's the same as what's on time tracking.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions to how this works? There was one question somebody asked that was you. If you work afterward, so here's an ant, she worked afterward, and it shows her off task. Right, that's the color it is. That doesn't, right now it's just showing off task because she's not under a schedule and we don't know what that state is, right? So that doesn't mean that she's off task and she's being penalized for that time.
I donated my time to
Yeah.
charity.
Not really, because you're getting paid for it.
You're getting some stuff out of college.
So, a lot of agents are confused because they think that this time is hurting their adherence, and it's not. Does that make sense?
No, it's not hurting, it's not helping you.
It's not helping you, it's not hurting you, it's just, yeah. As far as schedule adherence, it doesn't even recognize it. We were showing on task and off task, and I can't say that it's on task because you're not scheduled, right? And on task means that you're scheduled, you're supposed to be doing this behavior during this time, and now you're outside the time, so what do you call it? It'd be better to say paid or not paid.
Stuff on the column.
So I need some feedback. Would you rather 4 colors that have off task, on task, paid, and unpaid, where the paid and unpaid is outside, or does it work how it is?
Hey, none would be good.
We want the color.
Red,
like the colors.
maybe we'll make your color be red.
What I'm saying is, would it confuse you if there were 4 states?
No.
Would it confuse you if I said paid and unpaid, and the only time that showed up was outside of your schedule, and that the on-task time that you're sitting there
That would make
saying,
a lot of sense.
I think it would make more
'Cause-
sense to do it
Yeah.
like that.
what I don't want to do is say paid and unpaid, and then people are looking at this big, huge black bar saying, oh, I don't have any paid time during it.
Might be down.
And so I'm worried about the confusion.
Which is all scheduled paid or unpaid.
Well, right now,
Well,
the
we'll help the
confusion
blonde
is
people
what's
out.
going on during that time frame.
Yeah, right now the confusion is, I have a lot of agents who say that they go and they add up all of this black time, right? And they say, I'm not paid for this time, this time, this time, this time. And they're talking about time out here and all over the schedule. And they think black equals paid and the gray equals not paid. On task does not mean paid, and off task does not mean not paid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I assume that we just got.
So I need some feedback on that.
I think it would be better to have,
To have 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that way, people know exactly what's going on with it. When you're, outside of your scheduled shifts and inside of your scheduled shifts.
Or just another little thing up at the top saying, this is how much accrued pay time today.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I just about went and eliminated all these bars because of all the confusion from the agents. The bars are really the reason that I'm giving this presentation.
Which is really surprising.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any other questions about it?
So on my lunch on, well, I think I've got questions answered now because I started a little bit before because they said go to lunch.
I do have a question.
You're saying right here?
On Saturday. Or Saturday, they said go to lunch now because it's slow,
And
Okay.
and then we'll be back. So I did that. I'm not in trouble.
No, that's not going to do anything to you.
Because it's showing you're paid that last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
As long as you're going to lunch within a reasonable time frame of your lunch and getting back. So if you go to lunch, if your lunch is 30 minutes and you go to lunch within a reasonable time frame of that,
Define
right?
reasonable.
15 minutes, okay? Then you're fine.
And if they haven't purpled it out, it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, what if they don't?
Because I had that
If
yesterday.
they haven't if they say go to lunch and they haven't put you on lunch, that's a problem.
And you already went, it's 2 minutes, you go, I better check, make sure she did it, and she didn't, so, tell her, so now
Yeah.
she does it, but we're 2 minutes behind.
No, that'll work itself out. Every hour, then it recalculates the states.
So if you tell me on lunch when you first get in, I will take my lunch at 9:30. And they say to you, well, you have to wait till that shift manager comes on because I can't make that decision for her.
Okay.
So then, but she gets on at 9, so then at 9, but she doesn't do it before 9:30. You just wait for them to on.
No, what you do is you have a conversation with your MC, and your MC has a conversation with me so I can talk to the yes.
So just to clarify, if there is some kind of mix-up with the lunch and then it gets fixed, the agents shouldn't freak out if it doesn't display properly at first. If it doesn't recalculate their times, and it takes an hour to get to refresh.
Every hour,
So
and I don't
you
know,
give it some time.
I don't know if that's like every half hour, like
Yeah,
the
like
30-minute
what part
mark
of the
in the
hour.
hour, wherever it is, but every hour, it goes back for the whole day and it just recalculates all of your stuff.
Okay, so
Right.
you need to give it a little time to
Yeah.
recalculate.
So if your MC or traffic or something like Annette, she's right here. I went in and I cut her from 11 to 12, right? And I cut her when we were in this part of the hour. So it shows her still is on task during that time and all that stuff. Once we get past this, it should go and show that that time is off task. But it's during a cut state, so it doesn't hurt, right? Okay, any other questions with this?
I have a scheduling question in general,
Okay,
and it is, my children's school starts at 8:15.
Mhm.
I'm dropping them off currently at 8.
Mhm.
I mean, at 7:45,
Okay.
should be, start work at 8.
Mhm.
But Marion mentioned, with the 15-minute flexibility, I would be able to start work at 8:15.
or 8:30.
Currently, when I ask traffic about that, they tell me they're not prepared to give me that.
Yeah, I've told them to hold off on any of those requests so that we can get through the scheduled hearings and get everybody properly oriented, right? And not have this massive confusion, right? So we are prepared to start fielding those requests after the team meeting next week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's when we're going to do a 9-hour shift then too.
9-hour shift and all that.
So I'll be able to work from 8:15 to 12:15 for my 4-hour shift.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or 8:15 to like 3.
9 to 5.
Yeah, 4-hour shift, but it's like you want that, and after that kitchen, you want something else, right?
Because you're so good and we love to have you
My
for.
children do need to be picked up at 2:45, so maybe I can work 8:15 to 2:30.
Yeah. See?
And I can have that flexibility?
Yeah.
6.5 hours.
So are you going to be going into trades today?
Shift trading?
Shift
I
trading?
can if I didn't plan on, but I can if
We
you
don't
like.
even know how to do that.
I actually just, thought of a suggestion.
Yeah.
More than anything. Because when, one of us puts our shift up for trade, or, we put it up for grabs, then there's no way to know what's going on with it. So I was thinking that it would really help the agents if there's some sort of a notification when they put their shift up for grabs that goes to their email that says you have your shift up for grabs. And then when
Well,
somebody
it colors
takes
it a different color.
well, yeah, it changes color, but
That means it's up for grabs.
it's just I put it up
How
for
do you know
grabs and
somebody
then
covered
had something
Because it
like
disappears.
happen that just disappeared. I
Oh,
didn't
on
know
my
what was
schedule it
going on.
disappears. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's Annette. Here's her schedule, right? And if I go into her schedule and I want to put from 6 till, let's say, I don't know, 6 till 10 up for grabs, right?
Mhm.
I put it up for grabs and okay. So now you can see that it's a lighter color, so I know that's up for grabs.
Right.
It's the same color as this other color where somebody else's shift is up for grabs. It's just that it shows how many shifts I can go and get, right? So if I was Annette, I could come here and say, well, I want to take these shifts, so she clicks on that and there she goes, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, if she wants to undo putting her shift up for grabs, she clicks here at the 6 a.m. and she just deletes that. And then when it refreshes the page, it should show that it's no longer up for grabs.
Mhm.
So we'll have tomorrow morning off.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So that's the intention of the communication.
That's the communication. I see.
And then if she puts it up for grabs and Natalie comes and takes the shift, then it's going to send an email to both of them after the SM has approved it that the shift is traded. And once that happens on Annette's shift right here, it's just white, like right here. So she knows that she no longer is.
Basically no
Yeah.
longer there.
I'm so glad you picked that up, because on mine, it doesn't show that, does it, the different colors?
Yeah, that's,
It does? I've never seen it.
Yeah, I think it's if it was a trade block, they could put on
Oh, you have to put it on trade.
Oh, yeah, if you're here on the schedule,
You won't.
It won't show.
if you're here on the schedule,
Thank you, Jared.
then it's gonna show her there even if she has it up for grabs, because nobody's taken it yet.
Okay.
But she has to come in here, go to the trade block and see what it looks
Okay,
like
that makes sense.
in the, and that's the only way that she can put it up for grabs anyways, to go to the trade block.
Aaron,
Yeah.
what about, the problem we're having now is like, I'll have people call me and they'll say, hey, will you work for me Saturday? Well, I always work the same time on Saturday, you know, from 4 till noon or whatever. But they don't know that because they can't look at the schedule in there. So they'll call me, like 10 of them last Friday, will you work for me Saturday from 10 to noon or from, but I guess it's no big deal, you get to talk to people, but it's kind of a waste of time.
You start screaming your call.
Is there a way where we can see who's working so that we, when we need someone to work?
No,
Is there gonna be?
no,
Oh, that's bad news.
Why is that?
because it is a major strain on my life.
We don't want to strain on you.
And I have different ideas to kind of communicate that. It's not that people don't get to go see who is working at that time, it's just kind of what their schedules are, what this is, what this is, what this is, what privilege I extended to Natalie to let her work at 8:15 that I'm not extending to Sam because I hate Sam. That's the way Sam looks at it, right? And it's not that we're trying to give special privileges, it's that we're trying to accommodate people's lives, and you can't just have one standard that everybody submits to. That's very difficult when you've got 200 people. They all have different lives and different scenarios. So that was creating a major strain, specifically with availability. So when I asked questions, people wanted to know who are they working with. And I've come up with different ideas. One suggestion is that we come up with so if Annette trades with 20 people, that we kind of keep track of how many times she's traded with whoever, so that when she goes to trade, then it gives her a suggested group of people that she's traded with because she's done that in the past.
They only pay or something.
Yeah. Something along those
Just
lines.
put everyone on the list.
So, something like that. Or you're trying to trade your shift and your shift starts you're trying to trade from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, right? And that it gives you a suggested group of people to get into the 2 to 4 spot. Either based on people are coming on at 4 o'clock or people are getting off at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that there's a suggested group of people, right?
Annette and Sarah are gonna be out of adherence if they don't get back on.
Oh, no, because I'm not.
Yeah, well, Sarah will be fine. Is that your name, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we've covered paid break. We've covered schedule adherence. We've covered the tech support and the training. Are there any other questions? There was a
Well,
question about lunches.
The turning purple, having to rely on a shift manager to do it.
Okay. What we have done is we have taken the schedule, we've moved it into POP, and we've done our best to not disrupt any of the processes. So that all the same rules are still the same rules, right? So we kept the availability the same, we kept attendance the same for a little bit, and then we just let it go and says, okay, get used to the schedule adherence. We've kept the lunches, the assigning of lunches the same. So the assigning of lunches is you show up, you ask the SM, when can I do this, blah, blah, blah. Right now, that's our process. And we are reliant on the SM to do that for you. And I have had many conversations with them, and they know very clearly that that's within their responsibility to make sure that you get a lunch when as close to the time that you've requested, depending on what the media looks like.
I've never been to a club where they have to.
It is also their responsibility to make sure they designate it on the schedule. With that said, if it's not on the schedule, even though they told you to go at 8 o'clock, if they haven't put it on the schedule, you should make sure that it's on the schedule before you go. Does that make sense?
Yes, my next question would be, so that means you forever just gonna have to make sure they did it. My next question is, if we agree that I'm going at 2:30, and I get a call at 2:27, which runs 20 minutes,
Yeah.
then what?
Then you go after that.
So, so that's not, my concern is, and then you're gonna come back 20 minutes late.
So it's gonna
That-
be the same amount.
So it's
That
all,
works.
don't worry,
Yeah.
is that the short answer?
Yeah, don't worry about it. What I do, if you're really 20 minutes in, what I do is I chat the SM and say, hey, I just had a call that ran 20 minutes into my lunch. Can you adjust my lunch to
And I
the
did
next
that
15
once.
minutes? Well,
Just for good measure, but it sounds like you're saying that's the thing to do every time, in case that happens.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
So within, our schedule is in a 15-minute block. So if you're halfway into this 15-minute block, there's nothing we can do. What do you want us to do? Move to this one, move to this one? And so we've programmed it to account for that. Does that make sense? So just make sure that it's within the 15 minutes, somewhere in that 15-minute. Don't freak out if it's 16 minutes, but just close. Does that make sense? So that the behavior, so that your line here fits behavior. So Annette should have, if she moved that lunch over to here, then it fits the behavior. Does that make sense?
This is just one issue that's not very often.
Okay.
But what if you end up somehow, because of the people that have asked you to work or whatever, you end up having a 12-hour day? Can
Okay.
you take 2 half-hour lunches during that day?
Sure. I recommend not taking a 12-hour day.
That happens once in a while.
There's nothing in our system right now to stop you guys from working 12-hour days or stop you from working over 40 hours.
Except for Dawn has a really big family.
Yeah. Papa calls me and asks me to come and talk to you about whether you want to keep working +1 or not.
I look at your commissioners and say, go for it.
Yeah, I looked at the calls you take and like, oh yeah, keep it up. So there's that, but I wouldn't worry about it.
So last Saturday, that was the Blue Kids Day at Emily Works, but you go to sign out of a call. No, you get through with the call and you'd be in wrap. Another call would come in while you're still in wrap.
No.
Yeah,
You can't.
it
How
said
can
wrap, it said wrap right here, and I've got calls talking in my ear.
How can that
Yeah.
be?
So something.
You're
that-
saying, and while you were talking, it was showing rap?
No, I'm done, yeah,
There was
I'm done,
something
the
for you to
person hung up,
The person hung up.
it came to wrap, but
You
I'm
closed
finished
your
up,
script.
I closed my script, and then another call came
Yep.
right in, and it still said
Yeah.
wrap.
I was logging on.
So
how
let me
can-
tell you what happened. Your agent is updating like every second for your time, right? So when you hit close on the script, we were getting slammed with calls. You maybe didn't notice that or whatever. And then 8 seconds later, it pushes you available. So it displays in one instance, it displays that you're in wrap, right? In the next instance, then it says you're on a phone call. During this time, you went available, you got sent a call, and you answered the call.
So how do you get on break when you're doing that?
Okay, so I programmed the break button. You can thank me. I want to hear a really loud applause. We programmed the break. We programmed the break button to that if you take you're on your script, right, and you hit break.
So you haven't closed the script?
So you haven't closed script. You hit break. It's going to push you into a break mode if you're off the phone call, right? So get off the phone call. You're in wrap. You hit break. It pushes you into break. You close your script. If you close your script when you're in break, it's going to ignore pushing you available.
Wait,
So
say that again.
kids, don't close the script unless you push break first.
And you guys, if something weird happens, just tell the tech guy.
Now, I need to know feedback on that because when I tested it, it worked.
It was unsafe.
So I still recommend that you do that and you sit there and wait for 10 seconds to make sure it doesn't push you available. Okay?
Because what I was told originally was, close your script,
Then go on break.
and I was also told, go over to your agent and push unavailable and then
Yeah, I didn't
Clear.
work. I
And that
worked an
didn't
extra
work.
hour
Yeah,
last
yeah.
week to kept
Yeah, that
pushing
doesn't
calls
work.
in.
Okay,
And then
that's Jennifer
so
told me
this
right
is much
away.
better. This is the first time I've
And
heard
this
it.
was in his video,
Me too.
so,
Oh,
yeah, this is
Oh,
all in
you
my
didn't watch
video.
it, huh?
Aaron, when that thing that she was talking about Saturday, it's like there was something freaky happen. If you guys have something freaky happen, just tell your tech guy that something freaky's
It was the
happening.
worst thing I've ever seen.
I was logged in and listening to Aegis, and it kept, like, Marie Eichenbauer, or whatever's name came up on my in contact, and then Annette's name came up on my contact, and it's like, I was logged in as me, but it kept flashing other people's names, so.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
it's called possession by the
So-
devil. And it's usually temporary.
So, I'll reiterate this again. If you're on a phone call, you get off the phone call, you're going to wrap, you have 30 seconds of wrap. So within that 30 seconds, or even if you go into extra wrap, hit break, close your script, wait 10 seconds, make sure that it doesn't push you available, and take your break and come back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then when you come back, go available through the agent.
So that's why when I came back from that lunch where I really took 40 minutes, I was on unavailable. Okay. And so that's considered unpaid off task time.
Unpaid off.
That's the way I should, okay, great.
And that
Break.
hurts your adherence, right?
Well,
It hurts your
yeah,
adherence.
it hurts my adherence.
So it goes against your
It
adherence.
goes against my 6 minutes that I have.
Yeah.
per
So,
hour.
when you're working your break, I'll clear this up for you. So, you have an option to go back available through the break button, right? Did you see that?
Yeah.
So what happens is you hit break and then starts counting down, right? And I can hit available when it's like 11 and a half minutes. And that's going to tell me I've got about 11 and a half minutes of break, right? I have to refresh the page and then it will show me that. If I hit break and I go into my agent and I hit available at 11 and a half minutes, Pop thinks I took all of my time. Does that make sense? It thinks I took the whole 15 minutes. Until about 5-10 minutes later when they send me the data, and then it will add that time back in.
Okay.
So if you go available through the agent, then it thinks that you used all of the time all of that 15 minutes or whatever you had. If you go back available through POP, then it will show you temporarily for the 5 or 10 minutes before it squares it all up what you actually have. Does that make sense?
So what you're saying is it's more effective to actually go
Yeah. So
back available through the button.
if it matters to you that you always know exactly what you have, right, then go back available through POP. If it doesn't really matter and you're going to go back available, you're going to take a call and you're going to talk for 10 minutes, by the time you get off that call, it will be squared up and you're going to know what you have. But at the end of the day, it always squares it up when the data comes in,
Regardless of which way you go.
regardless of which way you do it.
Okay.
Because even if you push available through POP, you still might be off by 2 or 3 seconds, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So let's say you go into extended route, like unavailable state where it's not paid. Does that count against your advance or
Yes.
it does? Okay. So it doesn't take out of your break time?
No.
Okay.
The only thing that takes out of your break time is break
Okay.
and absent time.
No. Okay.
Does that make sense? So every 12 seconds that you are working, then you get 1 second of break, and it just keeps adding.
So every time you do go unavailable without going through break, it's not accruing or it's not counting.
It's
against
not
you.
counting against your paid break, but it goes
Paid break.
against your adherence,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
So they're two separate entities of the same idea. So now I want to go through real quick my recommendation on best working practices on your shift so that you don't have, so you limit the issues and that you can just relax right in there.
Yeah.
So that I don't get so many emails. Show up on time,
Early.
early. I recommend it early and as early as you need to do this. Show up on time, turn your computer off, don't reset it, turn it completely off, turn it completely back on. Make sure it loads all the way properly. Plug your headset in, make sure that you can make a phone call to call your MC and welcome them to the day. Since they never call you and welcome you to the day, call them welcome them.
I do.
Every day.
So call Becky back saying I'm ready to plug in and whatever. Call yourself, call someone, and make sure that that connection is established and that you are nailed up. And then just stay that way for the rest of your shift. Stay nailed up. Don't unnail yourself when you go on lunch. Keep nailed up.
You have to call somebody if you hear it ring.
The reason I say to call somebody is to make sure that the audio settings are proper.
Yeah, that's what gets
Because
messed up.
it can still connect, right? And it will still be nailed up. And you'll think you're getting dead airs just because the X-Lite setting, for whatever reason, when you plugged in your USB, it didn't load properly, and it puts it to the speakers of the computer, and there's no speakers on the computer, so you can't hear anything.
Or your headset might have gone bad.
Or your headset went bad.
What's the
Right.
best account to go through when you're doing that?
What do you mean account?
Like, because when you're doing a callback through NG, you have to select which product you're calling on.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just
Well,
select one. Select
You
one.
still do
and
a radiancy one.
Yeah.
just select one, and if Becky goes listen to it or Jared, they're gonna listen to you say hello, 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 hello. Is this working? Yes, I can hear myself.
Testing one.
And did all of you guys?
Can you hear me from over here? Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me from over here? Yep, I can hear you. That's how I
Did all
test
of you
it.
guys read about not calling into the pod meetings through the system?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So that's the first part of the best practice, right? Show up one time, make sure your system is working.
But
The second part,
I did that.
hold on.
Okay.
Second part, work your entire shift. Don't ever log out. Okay? And if you have to log out, consult with the tech person. Once you have a tech issue, instantly contact the tech person. If they don't respond, contact the SM. And if they don't respond in a timely manner, I need an email. And I want a dialogue of your conversation, like your chat, so I can see. I chatted him at 2:07, and I chatted him at 2:12, and I chatted him at 2:15,
We
and I
can
chatted him
copy
at
the
2:30,
chat account.
and I still didn't get any response, right? If I have that information, then I know exactly who you're talking to, what the circumstance was, and that I can follow through with them and train them on getting back to you guys so that we can refine the process over time. So, if you have a technical issue, the first thing to do is reach out to the SM and Tech SM. Tech SM first, then SM. They are going to go through with you and troubleshoot, which means you need to be responsive, like as quick as you can. Keep them on your chat, right? Get the process working. They're going to diagnose whether to put you into tech support or not. If they feel that they can get through the issue in a minute or two, they're not going to push you into tech support. It's going to hurt your adherence, so you're going to have to tighten your belt just a little bit, but that should be the only problem for that day. I know there's days that you always have a bunch of problems. Okay, so that's one day, 7 days later, it falls off, right? It's not a big deal. So you have that. So follow that regime. Take your lunch on time, come back on time, and then go home. And the only time that you go unavailable is if you go through POP. Push break through POP, right? Does that make sense? And that's my recommendation on the best practice to follow. And if you do that, you'll be a 10 on your adherence pretty much every day. And the reason I say pretty much is because there might be a freak out day where some comet hits the earth, right? And that you guys are just up in arms. Yeah.
So it won't kill your score if you quit right at 5:55 just because you don't want to get a call.
No, you can't do that.
Can't do that.
It kills you.
It hurts your score if it hurts your score within the whatever you have left
Within
to
the
give,
parameters
right?
of 5 or 6 minutes.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
But it's also
Does that
not
answer
fair
your
to the
question?
rest of the people.
Huh?
It's not unfair to the rest of the working either.
Yeah, it's not fair to the rest of the people working, but what we're doing is we're going to go and try to get her to start at 8:15 or 8:30 or whatever, and we're going to get people staggered, right? So that we don't have a whole bunch of people coming on at 2 and getting off at 4 and coming on at 4. So it's like 2:30 and 1:30 and 4:15, 4:30. So that you stagger all of that, so that if somebody leaves 5 minutes early, then not everybody's doing it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. So back to logging on early. This is before you've changed all the system. I logged on early and then went in, was getting coffee, et cetera, and I came back to my desk and the SM had unlogged me.
Logged you out?
Yes.
Yeah. That
And,
was before
right.
the exchange, okay.
And so I didn't understand why or what that's about, so I logged back in and she popped me back out, which is a little bit of.
Probably during my
Frustrating.
phone time.
Well, I mean, my shift was about to start, but I've never come in and logged in early since then. Not
I can't
planned.
tell you exactly why, right? I can't tell you, I can't
But
vouch
there
for
was
why
a
they did it.
rule why, and I didn't know the rule.
Here is what I have communicated to them. They're here and they're managing the people of our company. Here's Rosetta, here's all the agents, and down here is all the ramp agents, right? And when other people are on it and they're cluttering it, then it creates a problem. And when they're sitting here and they're looking at the unavailable people, trying to make sure that they're resolving the issues of people, and you got this person that's just unavailable and they're not on the schedule, then, and they might have chatted you, or maybe they didn't.
No, I wasn't at my desk.
Well, what I'm saying is they might reach out and say, hey, blah, 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 that you're not there, so they go and log you out, so that you don't show up. Because they're sitting here and they're looking at these numbers, and they're looking at how many people they have unavailable, how many people are on the call, and how much are available. And if this number is up higher, then they're stressed out saying, I've got to get people available. And if you're not on shift, or they chat you, you're not responding to them because they like, hey, go available. And then they realize that you're not on the schedule. They're saying, why is this person logged in? And they log them out. Right? So you can log in and you can go into the state of not on schedule. Okay? For like the 5 minutes before. But don't log in 30 minutes before and sit there for 30 minutes.
It was only like 10 minutes.
Yeah. So just
But it sounds like you're saying 5 is better.
5, 10, it's all the same. Just make sure that you say not on, go into the state of not on schedule, so that that communicates to them, because they can see that right here, and it says that you are not on schedule. And then you go available, and then you start working. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So how come sometimes when you go to log out at the end of your shift, and you've gone over like 20 minutes because you're on a long call, you go to log out and say you're already logged out? How can they do that when they're working?
I don't know. It could be just a glitch in a contact.
Doesn't that very often.
But if you are sitting there talking on the phone, then you're not really logged in.
Yeah, you're getting paid. I figure you're
Yeah.
getting paid for it because you're on the phone,
Yeah.
whether it's
That's right.
I just wondered why.
So it could just be a glitch. There, sometimes in contact has weird things that happen like that.
But as long as you're on the phone.
If you're on the phone,
getting
then
paid.
yeah, we have a state that logs it, does all the stuff. Okay. Any questions? Did we cover all of your questions?
I have one off topic that can wait till the end.
I'm at the end.
Okay, so can I use my MacBook or can I not?
Can you use a MacBook?
With you know, I don't have boot camp in there or whatever.
Can you use a MacBook? You can't install XLite on the app on an Apple. So if you have a home phone line or something, and don't take my word for it, this is just me thinking, you'd have to ask Anthony this question. If you had another number, like a phone line that was a landline, then you could pass it through that. Or even if you had VoIP.
Oh, so you don't have to use XLite.
You don't have to. XLite is a phone,
I use it.
and it's just a
Oh.
software instead of a hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And so the XLite is not configured to be compatible with that.
Okay.
But you can get on Safari and you can do all the stuff. I believe you can try
So
it.
your phone line cannot have call waiting.
It cannot
I
have
don't
any
need
features.
call waiting.
Not have any
No, can't have voicemail.
Oh, can't have voicemail, so you have to have a dedicated line.
dedicated line that has no features. It's just a
Okay.
number. So that if it rings and you don't answer the phone or some glitch happens, then
Nobody
it's not.
gets hi, it's Pat.
That's right.
That would be bad.
You know the drill.
Yeah. Back at the beginning of our company, and Becky was here when you were here when we had cell phones, right? When we used cell phones? Or did you come later?
Oh, no, we use cell phones. Every
Yeah.
time everything went out, we just get on our cell phones.
So,
Do it, yeah.
so
Yeah, cell phone those days.
My wife used her cell phone for a long time,
I've had to use more than something like that.
and that was in the early stages back when we were a bunch of hick people from some backdoor community that doesn't know anything about the real world, right? So people were getting forwarded to some voicemail.
Yeah.
Who knows what the voicemail is? Maybe it's a kid saying hi to its mama. It's not professional. So that's the best I can answer your question, but you'd have to ask Anthony.
So it's a yes to get a dedicated line.
I think so.
If you don't use your home phone for anything else, like my home phone I don't use for anything
Or you can
else.
get a separate line.
Yeah, and so I just, that's all I use it for, and so.
It can even be, it doesn't have to be a landline. It can be a VoIP line. It can go through Vonage or it can go through,
Well, Anthony told me that he didn't like us to use Vonage for some reason.
well, whatever it is.
Jack and all those things, you can't use those.
I don't know what they are.
Sound quality is better on
I have
landline.
worked in a VoIP situation before I came to this job, and the sound quality was horrible.
Well, you use VoIP here.
I know, you guys are just stuck.
Do you have better quality because you have so many? Do you have better quality because you have so many?
We have better quality because we pay for the internet,
Look,
which is really what matters. Vonage gives you really,
what do you mean when you say because we pay for the internet? What do you
we pay to make sure our internet has the ability to pass through a lot of VoIP.
So higher
Carry
quality
that,
or a
yeah.
bigger pipe?
No, quality.
A lot
We
of
pay
them
for a
don't
service
like
level on our internet to make so that there's not any drop of
Service
packets, any
level,
packet loss and all that.
Yeah.
And when you're sending over voice data, then you can drop some packets of data, which gives it a garbled.
Mm-hmm.
And so here, we used to be on Comcast, and Comcast did that quite a bit. Sometimes it'd be also one day,
A whole bad day.
whole bad day. So we fixed that issue, and I don't think you've had the issue.
No, we haven't. No, but if you watch certain TV shows where they're interviewing someone and they're on Skype, they clearly aren't paying for the service level because the quality's.
Well, then you're talking video too. Which is,
Right, that's true.
So we pay a lot of money for internet.
So Aaron, this only happens to me on Time Life, and it's because I have a mental block to get something that. But
Okay.
I always get, at the
I
end,
can't
when I
give
go
you
through and get all the
time.
magazines and order and all this stuff, then I can't close the order. And I've always, it takes me like 10 minutes
Yeah,
to
after
go
you
through
make your lunch.
and get it.
Is this closing the order and the order is through our system, or is it still through?
You
the
sync
company?
it.
I'll log back
Sync.
in.
We synced it, so you're just using our technology.
I think by now, once you sync it, it becomes to ours, right?
Well, I'm saying, do you hit the sync button?
Yes.
And are you taking the initial order in a different script and then you do our stuff? Okay. I don't know what to tell you about that.
So what happened to me Saturday was, fortunately, the guy who gave me the order set his phone down on the table and just pressed the phone button. And so I could get through all my, the more frustrated you get, the longer the time takes. You know what I mean? You're frustrated, you can't find what you need to do. This is me. I get,
Yeah, so you're saying under normal cases you go into extra app, is that what you're worried about?
yeah. No, I would have gone into extra app had he not left his phone on.
Yeah, so here's the best practice. Chat the SM and say, hey, I've got this issue, can you push me to tech support while I finish this up?
I would have a problem. And you guys.
If
our
they
team
if
does
they
not
say
have a problem with
if they say no,
appearance.
they say no,
It's-
because
it's
it's only a few times that happens.
Right, you know.
And it takes an extra 2 minutes. Just
I
tighten
only
your
have
belt a
two
little
people that have
and go
problems
through the extra shift and don't worry about it.
It's good stressing. So,
If you'll just learn to roll with it instead of stress about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
And so listen to me, we have 2 people on our entire team that have problems with
And you're
adherence.
the-
No.
Are we
It's like
done with
we
it
don't
there?
have adherence problems on our team.